Hello, everybody, and welcome into I don't know how many we've done of these, but we've done quite a few over the years. Our first round mock draft at Prospect Corner here. We always get together a bunch of guys and from obviously that record almost every week. And then some other writers that have been on the show before. Obviously, a lot of these faces are familiar. Got Mark Scheig, Lukas, Dayton Reimer, Peter Baracchini, myself, and Justin Giampietro, who has I think all of you have been on the show at some point, of course. So we're going to be doing our first round mock as we always do. And we had a big trade just before about an hour ago that kind of changed the order, but at least we're recording after that happened. So we're accurate up until as we're recording 7 Eastern. So of course, if anything happens after this, whatever. So we're going to do it. So we're going to get started here. And of course, Peter, you have the first overall pick, Toronto Maple Leafs. Who are you going with here? Is it going to be a familiar name, or are you going to change it up?
Definitely going to be a familiar name. I feel like if I changed it up a week before the draft, I feel like Leafs Nation is going to turn on me big time. But yeah, the Maple Leafs are going to select Gavin McKenna. I don't think that this should be a debate at this point. I mean, there's still a debate, but it shouldn't be an argument. Gavin McKenna is the best player in the draft. There's no question about that. Should not pass up on him. I get that I even saw the concerns with the off-puck play, defensive awareness. That still resonates a little bit with me, but he could produce. He could generate. He could create. He's deceptive. He's skilled. He could open up space for himself, teammates, line mates, and that's just what Austin Matthews needs at this point right now to get going. And yeah, 5-on-5 production is going to be there, but also on the power play. Maple Leafs need to get going. He can produce. He can set guys up. And if with the addition of Darren Radish, Austin Matthews with a shot, Nylander on the other flank, who knows what's going to happen, but this is definitely going to be the pick for the Maple Leafs. You can make a case for Stenberg. You can make for Reed. I would wholeheartedly open that discussion, but you go with the best player available, and that is Gavin McKenna.
All right. No surprises yet. Gavin McKenna first overall in our mock and possibly in the real one in a few days. All right, Mark, San Jose Sharks is up second overall. Who are you going with here?
Oh, I would like to open that best player discussion because I think the Sharks are going to take the best available player. And it's not a defenseman, even though a lot of people think that that's where they're going to go. Like you saw, they acquired Kesselring. I think they're going to try to maybe acquire another one that's more ready to play now rather than have to wait a couple years. So that's why the Sharks are going to take Ivar Stenberg right now. They think he's the most ready for the NHL, and to be able to put him with the young talent that they already have, there's a chance that he could go right into the lineup this year and contribute. And I think he's a more well-rounded player than McKenna, which is why I have him pretty even, but even a little bit ahead of him for now. Both great players, but I think the Sharks are going to be ecstatic to take a player like Stenberg here.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much debate at the top here of what's going to happen. The Sharks going to maybe turn this draft when they do pick and who they will pick. Stenberg's a good pick for them. So second overall, again, maybe no surprises yet. Stenberg going to the Sharks at 2. Third overall, Vancouver Canucks. Now that Stenberg's off the board, that debate is gone, at least in ours. So who are you going with, Lukas? Third overall, so the Canucks.
Well, I have a feeling that Canucks Army is going to be very happy. I am going to go past it, get right to it. It's going to be Caleb Malhotra. It's going to be Manny's son. We all know the connections. We all know it. We've talked about it ad nauseum. And if there's actual validity to the Canucks are afraid to take Malhotra because of Manny, I think that's just not – I think it's not a smart pick because realistically, let's say you take Caleb's going to be there a lot longer than Manny is because coaches just don't last, 20 years. Caleb proved so many people wrong in his draft year. He went over to Brantford after a year in the BCHL, and I know he played on a great Bulldogs team, but he was a driver on his team. He was one of the driving forces of that offense as a first-year OHL player and someone who was in their draft year. Like, that's got to count for something. He's got great hockey sense. He comes from a great hockey family, of course. He knows the game in and out. He grew up a Canucks fan. He grew up in that locker room. I just think that there's no better option for Vancouver at this spot.
Yeah, I mean, there's, again, the debate of now that Manny's the coach. I mean, like, I do agree with that. It's he's not going to be here for, I mean, most likely not going to be here for a super long time, but Malhotra could be. So, I mean, or Caleb could be. So, yeah, it's I think it's a good pick, and I've said that before on this show too. All right, Dayton, 4th overall, Chicago Blackhawks. I know you've actually picked for the Blackhawks quite a few times on this mock. So who are you going with this year?
I think the Blackhawks, and I've said this in our previous mock draft that we did with all the writers, they have the easiest job at the 2026 draft. There's 4 top guys. Wait to see which one falls to them. And this time it was Chase Reed, just like it was last time. Mm-hmm. I think they'd be laughing going up and taking him. He is easily the best defenseman, in my opinion, coming into the draft. He's a game changer. He really controls the back end. Very, very influential from what he can do at both ends of the ice. He's, I think, somebody that the Blackhawks can really add to their growing defense core. Of course, you got Lev Shunov there. Korchinski's, he's struggling a little bit. Adding someone like Reed all of a sudden gives them an incredibly deep blue line, and they can have the freedom to play around with what works.
Mm-hmm. I think Chase Reed he's going to go in this range in this top 5. Just depends on what team takes him. So in ours, the Blackhawks snag Reed. So our top 4, again, maybe not many surprises yet. So let's go up to the Rangers. Justin at 5th overall. Who are they going with here?
I have them taking Carson Carroll's at 5. I think he's the best player available at this spot. I also like the idea of a pairing with him and Fox on it. I mean, maybe that doesn't come to fruition, give or take, how long it takes him to come up to the NHL and what the Rangers do, because they're kind of in a weird spot. But I really like his game, how he elevated his offense this year. That's important. Of course, the defense, to me, probably the best shutdown guy in the draft, the way I see it. But the offense, I think, was really encouraging to see that take a step. Those are the types of guys you take a chance on in this range at 5th overall with such a high pick. I could really see him becoming a franchise type player, if not a top line defenseman for them. So I definitely wouldn't pass on him here.
Yeah, I mean, there's maybe a run on defensemen as we're going to keep going here. So the Rangers take the 2nd defenseman in the draft here. So we'll see what's going to go up next. So Calgary Flames, 6th overall. Peter, who are you going with?
Not to piggyback off Lucas in our mock draft, but as I was putting it together, it made the most sense, especially if Carson Carroll is gone for the New York Rangers. The Calgary Flames are going to take Albert Smits, left shot defenseman, and that is a very great complementary piece to Zane Parekh, right shot potential. Again, hopefully, kind of like with what Justin said about, Carroll and Fox, hoping that this could come to fruition. A good young pairing of Parekh and Smits. Smith's a little bit more of a well-rounded two-way game, can jump into the offense, but Zane Parekh is going to be that driving force as the defensive partner. I really think that they need to bulk up a little bit more on defense. They got enough forward prospects. They got a lot of quality names coming up. They could look at Viggo Bjork. They could look at other players as well. But for me, the defense is a little bit weak. If they need to add, it's going to be someone like Albert Smits.
Right, as I said, run on defenseman here. So 3 defensemen in a row. Mark 7th overall, the Seattle Kraken, who now only have 1 first-round pick. They had 2, but they made a trade to get rid of that and got Mackie Samoskevich. So they still have the 7th overall pick in ours. So Seattle Kraken, who are they going with?
They do, and they're going to take another defenseman because why not? There's 3 in a row. Let's make it 4 in a row. And it actually worked out when we did this before with the other writers mock draft that we did. But Keaton Verhoff is available, and that's who Seattle's going to target here. I mean, they haven't taken a defenseman in a long time, and they need somebody like him who's got the size, who's got the physicality, who's an athlete, who stood out at the combine. You know, there's some questions about, you know, what he can be at the next level, but overall, just everything that he brings, he seems like that he's a really good fit for what the Kraken are looking for, because they do need to build that blue line back, and starting with Verhoff is a great place to be.
Yeah, I mean, somewhat. I mean, Verhoff was at the beginning of the draft season, he was supposed to go maybe potentially in the top 3, but dropping to 7 in our mock draft and potentially even in the actual draft. So we'll see where he falls. So run on defenseman. We'll see if it keeps going. Winnipeg Jets at the 8th overall. Lucas, who are you going with for Winnipeg?
I can confirm the run on defenseman will end here, because when it comes to the Winnipeg Jets, I like their forward core. They've got a good core for the last few years. You know, extending Kyle Connor to a long contract, which is great for Winnipeg. Obviously, you know, everyone knows about their trouble with attracting players, but the draft is really where they build their team. And I'm liking Tynan Lawrence in this spot. Like, you got Mark Scheifele at center, but Scheifele's 33, and even Adam Lowry's 33. They got some older centers that are probably going to end up on the wing eventually. So Tynan Lawrence had a bit of a. It's not even his fault that he had an up and down season. He had just a weird season. He started in the USHL, then he went right to the NCAA with Boston University. His numbers don't jump out at you, but when you really look into it, you realize, like, oh, this is a player that kind of had his draft year a little messed up because of all of that. But when you see him like at the U18s for Canada, he was one of their best players. You see them when he was on Muskegon, he was their captain and one of their best players. Center, which the center class in this draft isn't that great. It's more of a winger class, and to have someone as good as he is, that is a top 10 pick. I think you got to jump on that, and I like Tynan Lawrence in the spot for the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, he started off slow in the NCAA, but really turned it on towards the end of the season there. So I think it's a good pick. He's going to probably be one of the first centers off the board, so we'll see where he goes. But he's 8th overall to the Jets in our mock draft here. 9th overall, Dayton. The Ottawa Senators now have this pick. This was the Florida Panthers pick just an hour ago. So Senators, who are they going with? Probably weren't expecting a pick this early.
Yeah, and I think, in all honesty, I think they trade this pick to get a roster player that can help them, hopefully, on the first line. I think there's quite a few teams that would be intrigued at adding some of the talent that's available here. We're not doing any trades, though, so I think that the Senators would probably be most intrigued with someone like Ethan Belchetz. I'm intrigued to go Vigo Bjork because he is so high skill. I would put him top 5 in terms of skill in this draft class. But someone who can really play both ends of the ice, has really high potential. He's got a lot of offensive skill. An injury slowed him down at the end of the season, so we didn't get to see everything that he could do. I think, and there is a little bit of a Brady comparison. I don't think it's very strong, but he does have that size and a little bit of a mean streak to him. I think he's a good heir to the throne, let's say.
Yeah, Belchetz, he would have had an even better season if he could finish the season. But yeah, he still had a great season. So yeah, I think the Senators would be interested in a guy like that, especially after trading Brady Tkachuk, if they do keep this pick, and they do keep it in ours. All right, Justin, Nashville Predators at 10th overall. This is a team that probably needs some high-end skill and young players in their lineup. So who are they going with at 10?
Yeah, there are a lot of good options here that honestly I wasn't expecting to have. But I'll go with Daxton Rudolph here. I think he's the best player on the board. I think he is maybe a top 5 talent in this class. I really warmed up to him later in the season. I think the offensive potential is just super high. Like, I don't think I've seen a defenseman with, other than Chase Reed, with this kind of offensive potential, like, in a while. I am really high on Rudolph. And Nashville just kind of needs a little bit of everything, I would say. And this would be a great pick, I think, for them.
Yeah, I mean they have a lot of options, like you said. So I think Rudolph is probably a good one at this point for sure. All right, Peter, up and going into beyond the top 10, St. Louis Blues at 11th overall. Who are you going?
Yeah, this is really tough because you could go with up and coming forwards or like some forwards that have moved up and improved their stock tremendously. But I am going to take Malte Gustafsson for the sole reason that his draft stock is absolutely rising. And there's talks that possibly he could reach into the top 10. And he just fell short of that right now. So if I'm the St. Louis Blues, I'm looking to take advantage of a smart, mobile, two-way defender that could jump into the rush, that's very sound defensively, defends rushes very well. And the fact that they already have kind of like the same situation that Calgary has where they need a left shot defender, you already have something promising in Adam Jiricek on the right side. So to me, that would make a very formidable two-way productive pairing for the Blues in the future. And I just think that that's something that you can't pass up on, given how much his stock has risen lately.
Yeah, he's really jumped up. I know in our writer's mock did jump up as well. So he's 11th overall to the Blues in our video one here. So yeah, I think he's going to end up, might end up around this range once we're all said and done. All right, 12th overall, New Jersey Devils. Mark, you're up. This is a pick that I don't think a lot of fans probably wanted to have this high because I thought we were going to be a playoff team this year, but they do have the 12th overall pick. Who are they going?
Yeah, they definitely didn't think they'd be this high. They had Belchez circled on their radar before he was taken. It would have been a great fit for them. I think they do need a forward. I do think they need somebody with size that can bring a little bit of a physical level. I mean, ultimately, they still need to find somebody that can play with Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt at the end of the day. But for now, a guy like Oscar Hemming is somebody that kind of fits the profile, bigger forward, has that size, has that physicality. And I think just some of the different things that he can do. He's a pretty good skater, can get in front of the net and create kind of guy that New Jersey would want to target. So with that pick, they choose Oscar Hemming.
Another guy that's been really rising over the last couple months, maybe too. So yeah, he could end up being here, 12th overall to the Devils. All right, Lucas at 13th overall. You got the New York Islanders up here, who, of course, had the first overall pick last year. They still have a pretty good pick here. So who are you going with at 13?
So I had an original idea in mind, and that was matching someone with last year's first overall pick with Matthew Schaefer, maybe going a defenseman, and then I had a player fall in my lap, and I'm going to go with Viggo Bjork. Because the Islanders, when the Islanders were in their sort of really good runs in the early 2020s, like in the bubble and the year after, they were a really good defensive team, but they had no scoring outside of like the random 2-goal games and 3-goal games. They'd win games 2-1, 3-1, 4-2, but they didn't have that breakthrough star forward. And now you get Viggo Bjork. This is a kid that at the World Juniors as an underager got 9 points in 7 games and helped them win gold, helped Sweden win gold. This is a really, really good player, really interesting player. Mm-hmm. And again, you just look at his numbers, 15 points in 42 games? Yeah, he's playing against men in the SHL. People need to realize, like, when you're 18 and you play against men, especially in Europe, their numbers don't pop out at you. But Dayton was saying this is a really, really skilled player. This is a really, really offensive-minded player, and I like this pick for the Islanders here.
I could actually see it, Bjork going there, especially if he goes down to this point. He could end up being in the top 10 too. It has really risen up draft boards ever since the under 18s, and then World Juniors. And then also in the playoffs, he was really good as well. So yeah, really good pick for the Islanders at 13. All right, so jump back to Mark because you covered the Blue Jackets. So 14th overall, Blue Jackets here. Who are they picking?
This is a little bit of a coin flip at this point because there's no question that they want a forward. I know when we did the last mock, we took Gustafsson, but they need somebody with skill. And when we did our recent Q&A with Don Waddell, he actually said that there was a new directive to take a little bit more risk and make sure that you get somebody with skill and someone who stands out that way. And so the way that this board has dropped There's a couple really great guys that they could pick from. They're going to go Nikita Klepov here. He was not at the Combine, but I know that they had the Gold Star get together down in Florida. And I know last year the Blue Jackets actually took Peter Andrianov because of that event. So they do value what Dan Milstein does down there. But you want to talk about skill. He's got that, led the OHL in scoring. And I think he's risen up some boards here. And I think that he would fit what Columbus would be looking for in terms of adding pure skill on the wing.
That's a good pick. Klepov is probably going to go around this range as well. So a very highly skilled guy, really excelled in the OHL this season. I like him even further down. If he does go by the Canucks there, but I don't know if he's going to fall that far. So yeah, 14th overall to the Blue Jackets. Very good pick there. All right, Dayton, we got the Blues again here. Who are you picking for the Blues? I know you didn't pick that first one, but who are you going with at 15?
Well, since they took a defenseman with their first pick, going with Gustafsson, I'm going to go for the forward, and let's go with Wyatt Cullen. I think it might be the player in this draft class who wants the puck the most. He is all over it in the offensive zone. He's really got an intense drive. I've really liked the clips that I've seen. He's the best player by far out of the USNDTB. NTDP. It's not fun to say with a little bit of dyslexia. He's really flown up the draft boards here, had a great under 18s. I think he fits well with what St. Louis is currently building. They seem to have a pretty well-rounded prospect pool, but could just use a little bit more of that high-end skill, and Cullen definitely brings high-end skill.
Yeah, again, another guy that's probably been rising as well. So, yeah, he could go here. 15th overall to the Blues. All right, going up to 16th overall, and we got the Washington Capitals up here. They're going to probably need a lot of guys. They do have two first-round picks, and picking really quickly after this. So, Justin, Washington Capitals, who are you picking here?
Yeah, this is a nice haul for Washington, just to have two picks kind of in this range. At 16, I'm going to have them adding to their center core a bit after Protas made the jump to the NHL, or at least presumably will play there next season. I'm going to have them taking Alexander Command, who's another big riser this year. He was really, really awesome. And, he's just to me, like the perfect center. I'm not sure what the ceiling is there, but I think he's going to be a very good player at the NHL level, can kind of do it all. He does have some skill. There's just not really a huge weakness in his game, and I really like what he can provide here.
Yeah, Command's another guy that's really risen up lately too. There's a lot of guys around this range that have really risen their stocks over the last few months. So Command, I like him too. I think he could end up being a really good two-way center in the NHL at some point. So I like that for Washington for sure. All right, sandwich in between the two Washington picks. We got the 17th overall pick with the LA Kings. Who are you going with, Peter, here?
Gonna go with the best player that I think in my mind that's still on the board, and that's Adam Novotny. I think that the LA Kings, they're in that kind of mid-range where you don't know what to expect, where they're going to be teetering on playoffs. Are they going to miss out? Andrei Kopitar is, moving on. He's retiring. I know you want to fill out the center role, but to me, you got to fill out some of the wing spots as well, where you don't have a whole lot of substance, and Novotny just fits that bill. Highly smart, highly competitive, very impactful, strong two-way game, and very versatile offensive threat too with his playmaking. Really great shot. Every single time I've watched him play this year, whether it's at the World Juniors, OHL, he's always stood out, even during showcases. The OHL or the Connor McDavid showcase for the OHL top prospects, he was one of the top players that stood out for me in terms of just the overall competitiveness, chemistry with his line mates, finding the open seams, getting opportunistic looks on net with his shot, very lethal. Really think that that's a really good pickup in direction for the Kings. Who knows if they're going to follow that, but that's what I would do if I was in their shoes.
Yeah, I mean they're going to have to. Obviously, he's not going to do anything replacing Kopitar at all right away, but could help in that in the next few years for sure. All right, Marks, 18th overall. We got the Washington Capitals again. Really quickly getting another first-round pick. Who are you going with at 18?
Yeah, because they previously addressed center, which is a big need. They actually need quite a few things. They could use somebody on left defense, and they could use some wingers too. So this would be kind of the range where you would expect a guy like J.P. Hurlbert to go, maybe Xavier Villeneuve. We're going to go with Hilbert here, though, just because he brings the hockey IQ. He's got a really good shot. So, the Capitals have a real chance to really set themselves up well for the future up front. And Hilbert's definitely gotten some late buzz here. He's actually going to be speaking Thursday at the draft at the top prospects availability. So you want to talk about somebody that is rising up some boards. He's definitely one of them, and he would be a great fit in Washington.
Yeah, he is really. I've been really impressed with him throughout the season. So I think he's a guy that can end up going around here, maybe even higher. Who knows? We'll see where he goes. But the Capitals grab him in our mock here. So 19th overall. Now going to the Utah Mammoth, and going to you, Lucas, for Utah's pick at 19.
I think the Utah Mammoth just got a gift placed in their lap. As they will go up to the podium and take a player that I thought would have been in the top 10, top 15, and now slips to 19, and that's Ryan Lynn from the Vancouver Giants. So Ryan Lynn, I think, goes into that same category of the other first round defenseman. Right shot, big body, has been in every single Team Canada event that he's been eligible for, was just at the U18s, is a really well-respected player, moves the puck well. I'm pretty sure I did his prospect profile. Again, it's just an all-around great defenseman. Might have to work a little bit on the offensive game, more of a steady presence on the back end, but he'll learn that under David Carl in the next few years at Denver. This is a great pick right here for Utah. I know that they have a bit of a log jam at defense with guys like Sergachev and now Uyghur's there too, and Sean Durzi. I think that Sean Durzi is about to move on and get traded somewhere else, and I think that over the next couple of years, Lynn's going to be able to fit into one of those spots coming up.
Yeah, I really like Ryan Lynn as well. I think he's a guy that might drop, but I think he could go on that higher range than 19 as well. All right, 20th overall, going to you, Dayton, at the Buffalo Sabres, who jumped up in the draft to get this pick with a recent trade, trading Kesselring away. Who are you going with at 20?
There's a couple of, I think, ways Sabres could approach this. There's a couple of good forwards left, some interesting defensemen. I'm most intrigued by Oliver Savanto. I think the Sabres have a good understanding of Finnish forwards, especially with Konsta Helenius in their system, who's worked out really well. Savanto is a big two-way player. His skating has really improved this season. In earlier viewings, I thought it was on the weaker side. Now it doesn't look as bad. Still needs some improvement, of course. But yeah, I think he's someone who can really add like a power forward element to his game. He's played against men this season. I think he can be a very impactful player, and the Sabres have time to give him some development room. So I think it's a good fit.
Yeah, I do agree with the Finnish players. They do have a lot that they've drafted over the years, and yeah, I mean, they do have time. They got a lot of young players, and now finally it's starting to happen for them where it's all kind of coming together. We'll see if that can continue in the next season. But yeah, still a lot of young talent, and that adds to it. All right, Justin, 21st overall, Philadelphia Flyers, a team that went to the second round in the playoffs this year, surprisingly maybe, but still have a pretty decent pick at 21. Who are they going with?
I'm going to go with a guy who they've been linked to. Generally, they don't do that. They kind of go who nobody's expecting, especially during the Briere era. But I'm going to go with, and I apologize if the pronunciation is wrong, Elton Hermansson out of Sweden. He's a very skilled winger. The Flyers have a lot of wingers, so it kind of goes against their philosophy, I guess, a little bit. But this is one of the best players available, I would say, at this spot. He was decently productive against men in the second-tier Swedish league. And, he's just kind of always been a pretty good type of prospect. He wasn't like a huge riser or anything. I think, to me, he wasn't even in my first round like last summer. So this is a player who has a little bit of pedigree, and he adds the skill that the Flyers need in their prospect pool with some guys graduating. Martone's going to graduate, I guess, next year, technically, because he only played a few games this year. And they just kind of need to replenish. Once Konechny, there's going to be a time once Hermanson is kind of in his prime. Konechny's going to be very old. Someone like Tippett may not even be on the team anymore, but he'll be pretty old. So you have to replenish. You can't just think of what do we need now. You have to think about what you need in the future.
For sure. And he could end up being a good pick. He has been connected to the Flyers, but we'll see if they end up picking him for sure. All right, Peter, 22nd overall, Pittsburgh Penguins. Again, a team that made the playoffs last season, even though, or this season, whatever you want to say it. But surprisingly, they end up with a lower pick than maybe a lot of fans were hoping for, especially if they thought they were going into a rebuild. But 22nd overall, who are they going with?
This one is a little bit tough because I feel like they could go with a right wing, but I also feel like they could go with a defender. And I'm trying to get into the mind of Kyle Dubas based on his draft projection of what he did with Toronto. And it's still tough because I think both players are high upside and quality possession type players. But you're never going to find a right shot defender that could put up numbers and be as consistent and have some upside like Tommy Blale. So I think that that's a good risk for them to take on. I know they already have Harrison Brunick, but he's more of a two-way kind of defender. Blale is a little bit more or has that more offensive touch. And the way that he was producing offensively during the regular season, the way he took control in the playoffs for the Moncton Wildcats as well. He is a first rounder. I feel like his stock has risen up because of the fact of how well he was able to be a mobile presence on the rush, be a factor in the offensive zone, move into the open lanes and opening things up for everyone around him, putting the puck in great spots as well. I feel like that's a good risk to take for the Penguins, and the upside is definitely there because of his offensive production and potential.
Yeah, he was really good in the QMJHL this season. Really jumped up into a lot of people's. I think he could be a first-round pick for sure. At this range, maybe, I don't know about sooner, but yeah, definitely around here. All right, Mark, 23rd overall, the Boston Bruins, another team that's kind of flirted with rebuilding maybe the last couple seasons, but made the playoffs. They made the playoffs this past year, even though they got kicked out really early. But 23rd overall, still a really good pick here. Who are they going with?
Yeah, there's a bunch of ways that they can go with this. Just they have needs all over the place. They could use a center. They could use a dynamic scoring winger. They could use a right shot defenseman. So at the end of the day, you always bet on skill. I mean, at least that's the way that I approach it. I think that's the way a lot of teams approach it. And if anybody read my steal of the draft, there is a guy that's got top 10 skill. I know there's some questions about him, but this is a kind of point in the draft that you take a gamble, and this is where Mathis Preston would make a lot of sense as a guy that could be a dynamic winger for Boston. And so that's who they take here.
I have a feeling that's who the Canucks are going to pick next, but the Boston Bruins going with Mathis Preston at 23rd overall. That's a good pick. I really like him as well. So Bruins getting a pretty good player at 23. All right, Lucas, 24th overall, the Vancouver Canucks getting their second first-round pick acquired in the Quinn Hughes trade. Who are they going with?
Well, as you can see from my face, there was one player that I was planning on taking for the Canucks. I love Mathis Preston. I love that player so much, and I very much wanted him for this pick. I will transition and go to another BC player and take Liam Ruck of the Ruck Twins. As they have been both of them have been heavily rumored to be going to Vancouver. obviously the BC connection, the Twin connection, the Sedins, everything, it works out great. Liam Ruck, along with Marcus, like they both tore up the WHL and Medicine Hat. 100 and they had one of them had 104 points. Liam had 104 points. Obviously, Marcus was involved in a lot of them. In this case, I'm taking Liam. I think he's just slightly better, not by a wide margin, just slightly better. And if we were doing trades in this draft, I would definitely try to find a way, if I was the Canucks, to get back into the first round somehow and reunite the Twins, just as the Sedins did 20 years ago.
I like that pick. I would have gone Liam. I did go Liam in our writer's mock as well. And this is where he was picked as well. So I'm staying true to that. All right, Dayton, second first-round pick of the Senators here at 25. Talking about trades, and this could potentially be traded as well. But in this, you still have it. So Senators, who are they going with at 25?
Yeah, barring any trade calls from the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah.
I think, the Senators could use some more defensemen, believe it or not. They have drafted 2 defensemen at the top of their previous 2 drafts. Both are right shots, though, so why not a left shot? And there's one guy who has been described as possibly the next Lane Hutson. That's Xavier Villeneuve. Let's add him. I think he brings a very high-end skill set. He is working on getting that defensive end game. It's a work in progress, but it is improving. He has some very, very good upside. He does need more strength. That is holding him back a little bit. But I think you can wait also a little bit with him. You don't need him immediately. And pairing him with a future like Carter Yakimchuk or even Logan Hensler, I think that makes a very dynamic duo already. And the Senators are kind of just playing with house money at this point, having a lot more picks than they bargained. It's a good world for the Senators in this situation.
That's if they keep all these picks, which a lot of people are probably expecting them not to. But right now they do have them. So Xavier Villeneuve going to the Senators at 25. All right, Justin, you end up with another Rangers pick here at 26. They had one way earlier on. So who are they going with late here?
Yeah, I'm going to have them going forward this time. And I'm going to take Maddox Dagenet. He was another kind of riser around this kind of late postseason type of area. He's a fun one. He's big. Maybe he projects more of a winger than a center, but when he gets the puck, I mean, he does some cool stuff with it. You don't really get guys in this range necessarily who are just that fun to watch. I mean, there are some questions about maybe the offensive ceiling or just ceiling in general, but I think this would be a good pick for the Rangers. I think he would add a lot to their forward prospect pool. I think they could use more help there, especially long term, as now that Panarin's gone and Trocheck's going to be gone eventually here. So I think this is a decent pick for them.
Yeah, very good. Centerman that there's a lot of centers that could go in the first round here. It's not a strong class, but some really solid two-way guys that are going around this range. So yeah, good pick for the Rangers there. All right, Peter, San Jose Sharks, they dropped, or I guess they traded a pick and just fell further to 27 instead of 20. But they're going to get probably a really good player here too. So who are they going at 27th overall?
I keep liking this player for the late part of the draft because of what he did this season. Believe, if I recall, his production was 20 goals, 40 points, 29 games at the U20 level, and that's Nicholas Aramolson from Örebro. Again, Sharks could probably go defender. Don't know how enticing a shutdown to a D-man like Juho Piparinen sounds like, But to me, I just love the offensive upside of Arab Olsen. I think that even for Norway being at the U18s, he was a very strong standout, putting the puck in the back of the net. Great offensive skill set, great puck protection skills, really rip the puck, find the back of the net. I just think that, they have an abundance of forward talent as well. I just feel like, to me, he's the best one, and he could do a good job of finding the back of the net.
I mean, the Sharks, they have so many young players. Just adding, it doesn't matter who they pick right now. It's going to add to what they already have. Lots of great young talent still in their system, and dropping to 27 so that they can get a defenseman that can work right now, and they're still going to get a good guy at 27. All right, Mark, 28th overall, the Montreal Canadiens, very surprising team in the playoffs, almost made it all the way to the Stanley Cup final there. So Montreal Canadiens at 28th overall.
Yeah, love where they're going to go. A lot of skill on the team, a lot of great players. One need that seems to really stick out for Montreal, though, is like that big physical presence, like somebody that can go in like a Slafkovsky type, like someone to really complement them up front. And that's where I think a guy like Ilya Morozov can come in and be that big center presence that they're looking for. So at this part of the draft, this is kind of about the range where somebody like him would go. Somebody I thought that would go maybe a little bit earlier. He's 6'3", already over 200 pounds, did really good things at Miami. So it's a good spot for him to go to Montreal.
Yeah, could really pair well with a lot of their young talent. Really adds to, again, another team that probably doesn't need more, but definitely could use what Morozov would add to their team for sure. All right, 29th overall, we got the St. Louis Blues again. They got so many picks in this draft, and that ends up being Lukas. Who are you going with for? We got 3 different writers picking for the Blues in this first round. Who are you going with here?
I'm going to take a player that I've been a bit critical of in the past, but I'm going to sneak him into the first round because I think that him being in this spot does make sense. I'll go with Ryan Rubrick for formerly of Niagara, now of Guelph after a recent trade, I've been a bit critical of this player because there are a few times in Ryan Rubrick's career where you've seen when he's not on, he's kind of a non-factor. I saw that at the Prospects Challenge. He kind of was a non-factor, and when he wasn't giving it his all, he was a little, irrelevant. But on the flip side, when he's on it, this guy's on it. Big body, really, really exciting power forward. Has had skill, immense skill for a while. My buddy Stephen Ellis from Daily Faceoff always talks about a famous goal he scored when he was about 16, where he from his own goal line shot it on an empty net that went bar down. And so just those types of tools have always been there with him. He's always been a great offensive mind and offensive presence. But again, like I've said before, you got to keep him engaged. If he's not engaged, he's not that effective for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a guy that, and the Blues are just going to keep adding there too, and could really add to what they have as well. All right, 30th overall, Calgary Flames. Dayton, who are you going with here? Another team that has multiple first-round picks in this draft. So who are you going with at 30?
Yeah, they took a defenseman with their first pick, so I think balancing it out with another forward. They, in the past, have gone for just sort of the best player available, getting Cole Reshny, getting Cullen Potter. A few other guys have really turned out, like Ethan Wittenbach. He's been fantastic over this past season. I think they, have a little bit of wiggle room in who they can add. One of my favorites is Jack Hextall. I really love how he plays. He can do a little bit of everything. He does have a high offensive upside. It's still kind of a work in progress. He was much better scoring when he was in some, I think it was under 16 or under 15 leagues. But that could reemerge as he goes into the NCAA. But he just plays a really solid all-around game. He's a great skater. He does a little bit of everything, and he does it really well. And I think that fits really well with what the Flames have.
yeah, again, a team that has a lot of young talent that is adding more to this one. So he'd be a good one there too. All right, Justin, as we get closer to the end of this first round, Carolina Hurricanes, who won the Stanley Cup, 31st overall pick. That would have been 32, but the Senators are locked into that place. So who are the Hurricanes going with at 31?
The Hurricanes, from what I can recall, usually go with those skill guys who fall for whatever reason. But at this spot, I'm going to do kind of the exact opposite, and it kind of goes against their drafting, I would say, philosophy, but that's exactly why I'm picking him. I'm going to take Casey Mutrin here. So there are people who really like him, and there are people who are like kind of cold on him. I think I owe him another watch at the NTDP. He didn't really stand out to me the first time, but he's a big kid. He plays with a lot of motor. He does have some physicality, and maybe there's legitimate upside here as like a really good bottom six player, which they're going to need once their older bottom six guys retire or just get really old. That's going to happen. That's going to have to happen eventually. You're going to have to, get those replacements. And I think Mutrin kind of does fit what they do.
Yeah, I mean, the Hurricanes, they're always good at picking these around this. I mean, Seth Jarvis being a later first round pick, I believe. I mean, not in the same profile, obviously. Casey Mutrin's a lot bigger, like you said. They do pick a lot of smaller guys, so it maybe goes against that. But he'd definitely be a guy they could pick. Or they could trade this pick. They're also very adept at doing that. They trade picks to get multiple more picks later on. So they might trade this 31st overall pick and do that, but they're not doing that here. All right, Dayton, 32nd overall. This was the pick that you always knew the Senators had, and they always will have because they can't trade it because the NHL prohibits it. So they will pick at 32 regardless of whatever happens with the other picks. Who are they going with to close out the first round?
Man, 3 first picks for the Senators after being like told they can't pick at all. It's pretty crazy, hey? Man, I'm going to maybe go for a bit of a wild one. Another one of my favorites in this draft is Jackson Cover. Really high energy player. He looked fantastic in the London Knights playoff series. Just a real committed player, really competitive, goes to the net, gets stuff done. I love a player who can skate well and has a high work ethic, and he checks both of those boxes. I'm not sure about his overall upside, but a high floor, looks really good right now. And I think for the Senators, that's a player that they can add to a growing prospect core and be happy with it.
Yeah, so Senators ending up with 3 first-round picks in our mock draft, and just a couple hours ago it was only 1. So they've got it's quite a haul to end our mock draft. Just quickly, I'll start with you, Mark. Who's your best player still available after this our first round?
Oh, there's definitely a couple good ones here. Let me just kind of pull up my list. See, we didn't have any goalies go in the first, right?
None. Yep.
No goalies.
Yeah, Brady Nolan just committed to Saginaw, and it's somebody that I know that you generally don't get first-round goalies all that often unless he's elite. So that's somebody I think would be like a very early day 2 kind of pick. Couple other names that stuck, like Brooks Rogowski. You want a big 6'7" center. There's somebody that you could go with, and I believe the other ruck wasn't picked, right?
Yeah, he's still.
So those are my 3.
And the Canucks would probably pick him, just like it happened. He wasn't picked in the first round in our writers mock. And they have the first pick of the second round. So they'd be in position to do that here too. Lucas, what about you for top players still available?
I wouldn't say that there's a shock of someone that's still available, but in terms of a day 2 pick, like Ryder Cali and Adam Valentini are still on the board. I like those 2 players. I'm pretty sure I did a writer's prospect profile. Really, really good players. Valentini, I didn't think it was looking back, I think that he probably should have spent his year in the OHL. I think he did get it lost a bit in the shuffle in Michigan, and I think that being a 17-year-old playing against 22-year-old, 23-year-olds, I think that I think he did get it lost a little bit in the shuffle, maybe got outmuscled a little bit, but I still like that player, even though he's a little undersized. And Ryder Cali, I like almost as like how Dayton likes Jackson Cover a lot. Good energy guy, good power forward, really interesting player. I like those two guys.
All right, Dayton, how about you for top players here?
I think a couple of defensemen slipped out. Juho Pipparainen, he was someone who I thought was a first-round pick, caliber player. Same with William Hawkinson, another defenseman. It's just there's so many high-end defensemen. You got to kind of pick your guys. I agree with Adam Valentini. I really like him. And then maybe a guy who's a bit on the bubble, but Simas Ignatavicius. I think I said that at least maybe right. I'm not fluent in Lithuanian, believe it or not. I really like his. He's a higher floor kind of safe pick, but still shows a lot of great skill. I think those are my guys who I'd expect to see in the first round. Not sure where they'd fit in though.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys that went that probably will be in the first round. We'll see. Justin, did you see anyone that maybe surprising didn't get in the first round? Who's your top player still available?
I wouldn't necessarily say surprising. I'm going to be honest. This class, especially past, I would say like 15, is just not that exciting to me. But I think Pipparainen has a good case to be a first rounder. I like what I saw out of him. Jacob Vanacek, I was watching some WHL games and he kind of stood out to me. I think he could be borderline first round hype. And I think he's a bigger guy too. Trying to see anybody else. Ben Macbeth was pretty good. I don't think he's going to be a first rounder. I feel like he's going to go to Calgary. That just seems like early second round. They have 35 and 36. I think that's where he's going to go. Yeah. But he's pretty good as well. So yeah, there are a lot of guys who are kind of on the bubble, but nobody I'm like super excited about.
All right, Peter, I'll finish with you. I mean, lots of players are named already, but who do you have as your top players still available that will be going on early in day two?
Basically all the ones that have been mentioned. I'm so high on Brooks Rogowski. I feel like a team would take a chance on that in the first round. I don't think he'll last long day two. Really thought Adam Valentini stood out at the U18 championship along with Preston. I thought they were their most two consistent play drivers, and really thought that maybe I don't know why Central Scouting is lower on him compared to the consensus of other rankers, but I feel like he's definitely going to be a great early to mid second round pick because of that energy, the playmaking. And if his size is a question, again, I don't care about that. He can play and he can flat out drive the play as best as possible. And Ben Macbeth too. I agree with Justin. That's why he's like on that fringe first round for me, 32nd, 33rd, 34th. He does have a lot of offensive upside. He has a two-way game, but to me, his reaction and awareness is just a tad off. But I feel like that could be worked out and improved upon later on. But the way that he plays the game right now, it's definitely translatable to the next level.
All right. Well, lots of talent still available beyond our first round, and definitely going to be the same once it gets going on Friday as well. So lots of stuff still to come in the next week. I'm sure there's going to be some more trades. Hopefully, way after you've watched this video, none of this has changed for the teams that are picking. But yeah, it's going to be fun over the next week. See what happens. And then when the draft gets going on Friday and the first round, and then the second round on Saturday, 26th and 27th is coming up really quickly. We're going to have quite a few writers over there. Mark, you're going to be there covering the draft. So look out for a lot of his coverage that's coming up. And then all the coverage at talkers.com. If you haven't checked out our draft guide yet, I don't know why you haven't yet, but it is live. It's been live for the last few months. We've got over 150 profiles there to read, and lots of features, lots of top 10 lists, lots of fun stuff to take a look at. So check that out. Link will be in the description. We also will have our normal big coverage on the day. And the first round, we've got pieces going out as the picks are being done. So lots of fun to come. So check that out. But until our next episode, which we will have another episode this week, we're going to do a bit of some quick ones. But until our next one, we will see you next time.